G'day, folks. Welcome back to another episode of Encounters Down Under Live. Great to see you. It's great to have you back. Great to have you joining me again tonight. It's absolutely awesome. Hope everyone's doing well wherever you're listening to. Be sure to go and leave in the comments there, say g'day, and tell me where you're listening from. Love to see where all my listeners are tuning in from. But yeah, look, guys, it's great to be back on for a night. We've got a special guest on tonight there. But before we get all into that, do a little bit of spiel to start off with. Don't forget, if you do have an experience or know someone who has had some sort of UFO encounter there, be sure to go and get in touch with me. Love to get you on the show and have a bit of a chat, bit of a chin wag. Doesn't matter where they're from in the world there, as long as they've had some sort of experience there and they speak English, love to go and have a chat. Because, there's these sort of things happen worldwide. So, yeah, by all means, let's get them on the show there and have a chat. Also, don't forget you can support the podcast there by purchasing some online merch there. That link in the chat there is not the right one. I'll have to go and put up another link a bit later. But you can go through the Facebook page there. There should be some links there for the online merch there somewhere, if it is of your interest. Anyway, look, let's get into it tonight. I've got Alex on the show tonight. If you remember Alex, he has joined us there with the Unlocking the Code podcast there with Triffon. A couple of times there, having a bit of a chat there about the UFO phenomena and all sorts of stuff. He does a bit of research and such, and a bit of his own little investigations and whatnot, as we all sort of do in this topic, because it all piques our interest a little bit there. But look, let's get him on the show there, and let's see if you remember him. We'll get him on there. And g'day, Alex. How you going, mate?
Good, mate. How are you going?
Going good, mate. Going good.
Excellent.
Thanks for joining me, mate. Great to have you on.
No, that's right. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Mate, it's good to see you back on here again, mate. After having you on with Triffon there from Unlocking the Code there, mate. We had a good chat there regarding the whole UFO phenomena and a bit of, I think we went through a bit of a background on what the possibilities of Earth and all the civilizations and whatnot. And I think we went down a big rabbit hole there that night.
Yeah, we did. And, I've had a couple of previous episodes with Triffon as well, which we haven't really finished yet. Like, it's still something that's, I guess, a work in progress, but big rabbit hole. I tend to call them wormholes instead because they just go on forever and ever and ever. But yeah.
No, mate, look, it's great. Because there's so much to go and cover in this whole topic there. And it just depends on where you want to go with it all.
Exactly.
But yeah, look, mate, let's go where I think you mentioned a few of your own little experiences there in your encounters and whatnot, and a bit of your history there from the podcast. But look, let's go and dedicate this night to you there and see where we go. So let's start back from where it all started for you.
Sure. So just for those who don't know me, my name's Alex. As Anthony said, I had a couple of episodes with the guys talking about different things. But for my own personal experience, which goes back to when I was very, very young, it sort of started when I was about 4 years old. And I guess the earliest memory I have is of one night I was in my bed and looking out the window, and I was just looking at the moon and the sun, all that kind of stuff, and noticed a light sort of just to my right that got considerably brighter and brighter. And I just remember, like I said, I'm 4 or 5 years old here. I remember it just got brighter and brighter, and, I'm sort of looking around and, trying to work out if it was a reflection or something like that, which it wasn't. It seemed to be coming from one sort of central point. I'm not certain whether or not it was, I don't know what it was. My sort of, the way I sort of look at it was either something like a portal or it could have been a light being. I don't know. But it was there. And this happened 2 nights in a row. There was no negative experience. It was very sort of neutral, no positive, no negative. But I do recall there being some sort of consciousness and being able to communicate and say, hello, what are you doing? Are you here to hurt me or anything like that? And there wasn't really a response, but I never felt any fear, if that makes sense. And as I said, this happened 2 nights in a row when I was quite young. And around that as well, there was a time where my mother actually mentioned that I used to talk about my friends that used to come to visit. And we'd go flying and, we go traveling and we go up through the ceiling and into the sky and things like that. But this was before, so I don't have any memory of that, but that was something that my mum used to that had told me a couple of times when I was quite young. From there, like I sort of moved around quite a bit when I was young, and I didn't have a lot of experiences sort of between the ages of 5 and say 15. But after that, there was, I guess, sort of more paranormal sides of things, and visiting certain places, and you pick up on sounds and smells and feelings and presence and all that kind of thing. So that was always fairly prominent growing up, and more so into my 20s and 30s, where I would pick up quite a lot of different things in the paranormal side of things. But I guess my biggest experience was when I was about 25, and up until that point I'd never really had any direct knowledge or connection to anything UFO related. But it was very random that this thing happened. But so to sort of set the scene, I was living just outside of Canberra at the time, on my own. I just moved there recently, and working just normal job, all that kind of stuff. And I was at home one night, and I remember waking up, and I lived in a 1-bedroom unit. So I was down sort of close to a river, and my unit was on the first floor. So I had outside my bedroom window, there was like a street light. So that was always shining in, and it would reflect down the hallway, which was on my left-hand side, and I would look down to my lounge room. Anyway, one night I'm lying there. I woke up. I'm not sure what time it was. I didn't really look at the clock or anything, but I sort of rolled over to my left, and I remember looking down the hallway, and my hallway had sort of very rough concrete walls. And I remember thinking at the time it looked weird, because there was like a blue haze in the air, and the walls looked shiny. And I thought, that's odd, it doesn't look right. Like, my walls are rough and very matte, I guess. You're looking, sort of like a normal paint. But when I was looking down the hallway, they were quite shiny, and I was like, that's really odd. Didn't think anything of it. Anyway, I rolled over under my back, and then I remember just opening my eyes, and there was this face about a foot above me, and it was not a human face, and there was no one else in the unit. My partner at the time, she was back at home at her place, so it definitely wasn't her. But just the face of the only thing I can describe it as is an alien. It's a gray alien. It had the gray skin, the big black eyes, very small mouth. But I remember when I opened my eyes and looked up, I went sort of like, I startled them like that, and it sort of startled the whatever it was. It sort of went like that, and I remember it sort of jumped back, and I sort of closed my eyes to think, shit, I'm dreaming. And then I opened my eyes again, and it wasn't there, but I sat up in my bed, and it was over near my window. And I noticed at that time that the light outside was quite bright, much, much brighter than the street light. And this thing was standing right next to the wall and the window. And it's looking at me, and it's got sort of one hand on the wall, and then it just sort of moved out of the room, and like it literally just evaporated through the wall and the window. And then, as I said, it was really bright light outside. It just disappeared. It was gone. And this all took place in probably about 10 seconds, very, very fast. And yeah, look, as I said, like scared the crap out of me. Like, I'd never had any experiences like this before. And I don't think I slept for the rest of the night. I think it was quite, I think it shocked me quite a bit. And look, the next day I was sort of like, a bit odd, and never really thought anything of it, because I'd never, had any thought about, UFOs or aliens before. And yeah, I got on with life as normal. But it wasn't a negative experience. That was one of the things, that I know that a lot of people say that, some interactions are negative. This one wasn't. There was no negativity around it, and it just happened, and that was that. Since then, never had another experience like it, which is kind of annoying because I kind of want to say, was it real? Did it actually happen? I want answers, basically. Like, what were you doing in my room? Like, what were you perving on me? Were you trying to probe me? Were you just interested in looking at my face? And or were you trying to abduct me? Or did you abduct me and you were putting me back in bed? And if so, it's okay. I don't mind. You didn't do anything bad. I would just like to know. And look, I know that a lot of people, and even myself, this is a story that I've never really told anyone before, and now I'm telling it to the world. It's one of those things that I think, as I said, like, a lot of people have negative experiences, and it traumatizes them and other things. But this, like I said, this experience for me was not a negative experience. It actually left more questions to be asked, and really, I guess, started my interest in looking into this more and more. And I know that there are millions of people around the world that have had a lot of experiences like this, and probably more. They've been looked at through their entire lives and things like that. But as I said, this has really sort of piqued my interest on, where I go from here and where we are in the world and where we are in the universe. And it's opened up my life to a whole bunch of different things. So, so that was my encounter experience. Like, as I said, since then, I've had loads and loads and loads of sightings of lights and UFOs, and as I mentioned this in the last podcast we did, watching a light crossing the sky and it stops and then goes back in the direction it comes. You can sort of look at it and go, probably a UFO. I don't think satellites act that way. But yeah, like, I've lost count of how many of those I've had. A lot quieter in the last year. I don't know what's going on up there, but have you, like, any of your listeners, Anthony, sort of said that it's quietened down a lot over here?
Look, it's a bit of a tough one. Going from the Australian UFO sightings page and that, and people who I talk to and that, like, they'll claim they're seeing things there, but some things, like I always say, like, a lot of things can be misidentified. So unless we can sort of say, like, it is something that's beyond our sort of capabilities in that sort of sense there, or something that can't really be identified, that sort of looks strange and out of place kind of thing.
Mhm.
I guess it's hard to say if it is sort of slowing down or quieting down. Especially from the government side, it seems to be quietening down for whatever
Yeah.
reasons. That's, they had a bit of a hype there for a bit,
Mm.
with David Grush coming out there, but now for some reason it's quieting down again.
Yeah,
Whatever's
it
going there,
has.
but it's one of those things. Like, it depends on who you talk to. Like, people are going to say, like, oh yeah, I'm seeing things all the time too. It's like, well, what exactly are you seeing? That's what we sort of want to try and get a real grasp on. Like, what are you seeing to go and, for you to go and call it an alien craft in that sense?
Mm.
And if you're seeing it all the time, then, well, why are you not trying to, like, record it, or like, jot something down there, or put like little memos or notes or something down, going, hey, look, seeing this night, such and such and such, it
Mm.
did this, such and such. I saw it for this amount of time, such and such and such. So that's where it gets lost there. Like, all these people can make these claims of saying, oh yeah, I'm seeing something all the time, but it's like, well, you need to go and bring more
Mm.
information to the table here and say on your claims. I want to believe you
Yeah.
by all means, but yeah, it just
Mm.
needs something. But going back to your encounter there, like, did like, you said that, like, you didn't really talk about it, or you haven't really openly talked about it. Like, is there a reason behind that? Like, what's your reasoning for not going out and talking to people? I suppose probably give me a common response for it though.
Well, I think it's that sort of standard responses that, I didn't want to be ridiculed. I didn't want to be, looked at like I was a weirdo or anything like that. I didn't want to seem like I was the odd one out, which I still feel like I am anyway. But, I guess it's, I mean, obviously, and this is going back, like, I'm 41 this year, and this is when I'm 25. So it's going back, 16 years. But back then it was a different world, like, it was like this topic wasn't really talked about a lot, you know. Like I think in the last sort of 5 years, maybe 10 years, it's definitely become more accepted. So back then it was like, you just don't talk about it, you know. Like I don't want to be singled out because, you know, like the friendship circles that I traveled in and the people that I hung out with, you mention anything like that, they're going to laugh at you. They're going to call you names. They're going to say, "Oh, you fucking weirdo," blah blah blah, you know. So I just didn't talk about it. And as I said, it wasn't a negative experience for me. So I didn't really, if it was a negative experience, I think I would have talked about it more. You know, if there was something done to me or anything like that, I probably would have, you know, spoken up about it. But I kind of felt, and this is the way I feel about a lot of things, is that these experiences happen to us for a reason. I think they're there to teach us a lesson or to make it, or to let us understand that there is more to our existence than just what we're shown and told. So I kind of feel in a way that it's one of those things that you sort of have to deal with on your own in a lot of ways. However, as I said, if you have a negative experience, then you're more likely to want to share that with someone and talk through it and try to, you know, get answers and, you know, justify why this happened to you and that kind of thing. And I think that's where things have changed a lot in that people are more open about talking about it now, and they're starting to, you know, by opening up, it's a lot of people are coming forward and talking about their experiences, and it's changing the way that people view things. So there's less stigma and there's less ridicule and everything that's coming with it. So, and I think the other thing too is, like, on this type of platform, you know, if, like I said, I've never really shared this before. I don't have a problem sharing it because, like I said, it's never been an issue for me. But what happens from here? You know, and that was another thing I was thinking. You know, I'm 25 years old back then. You know, I've got the world at my fingertips. I'm young. I'm starting a life and all this kind of stuff. Is this going to impact me in a negative way? You know, if I speak up now, how is this going to look? Whereas now I'm 40, I don't care. You know, I've set up my life. I know what I'm doing. I've got my family. It doesn't really matter that much. So to me, like I said, this isn't a huge deal. It's just, it happened. And yes, I would love to get proof of that happening. So one of the things that I've not so much set in motion, but I've opened up the discussion to is the possibility of regression hypnosis, to see if that helps me with that memory and what it would, you know, potentially, hopefully give me the answer as to whether it actually did or didn't happen. Because look, I could have a very overactive imagination and it might have been, you know, something happening. But there's too many stories and too many instances where this has happened to so many people across the world. I have no doubt that it happened. So but yeah, again, I still want some sort of an answer if it's possible. And I know, you know, people like Mary Rodwell, who work in this field, have helped quite a lot of people. So I have reached out to Mary, and you know, I've sort of said, you know, we will get there at some point. You know, I'm not in a rush to sort of open it up, but yeah, that's just, you know, a part of the process as well. So
Yeah, no,
yeah,
that's
you know what I
fine. Like, that's one of the things I was going to ask you about. Like, you had thought about trying to go back to regressional therapy and stuff like that, and I was actually going to recommend Mary Rodwell.
mean?
There's a couple others around as well. I've had Harry on the podcast there. But he's down in South Australia, and I think what, you're down in New South Wales, is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
it's a bit of
So
a distance there to go and see Mary. So that's
it is, yeah. And you know, she's in, I think, what, mid North Queensland, so it's sort of,
yeah, she's around
you know, up the coast.
1770
Yeah, yeah,
Agnes Waters way,
yeah. So
somewhere out that way.
it's
It's not too far from me.
yeah, that's right. So you're, you know, but so for me, it's a flight and you know, getting there or driving for, you know, 18 hours. So, you know,
Yeah,
like I frequent Queensland quite a bit. I come up there for holidays and things. But you know, just going that extra distance from, you know, the Sunshine Coast up to there is still, you know, it's a day and a half, you know, there and back overnight potentially. So, you know,
yeah,
it's
it's
one
a
of
big
those things
drive.
that yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but look, it'll happen eventually. As I said, I'm not had any negative things from it. So, when I'm ready, I'll be ready. So,
Yeah, at least that you know of anyway. Like for all you know, there could have been something that's happened to you, but like a lot of people, they sort of forget or they've been repressed with their memories and that, so that they don't
mhm,
remember what's happened to them. So for all you know,
exactly.
like,
Yeah.
it could have been something. Well, I don't want to go and make any claims here. Something sinister could have happened while you were knocked out on the table there or something,
Mhm.
and it could have been very well a negative experience
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
you really knowing, which is, it's a blunt reality of what the possibilities is with these beings coming down and abducting people.
Mhm.
Like you said, people are having negative experiences there, but some people are having a positive one. And it's like, can they remember if it's a positive one or if it's a negative one? That's the thing.
Mm.
It's such a difficult thing to get answers for. And like you said, like you want to try and get answers as well. And that's the biggest drive of for people who are having abductions and such. But like, and even those who are having like sightings of something that's absolutely amazing and phenomenal, they also want answers too, because how many years we've been lied to from governments and society itself there, and everyone thinking we're a bloody joke there when it comes to seeing something strange in the sky or seeing some
Mm.
strange creatures in our rooms at the night. Like, when's it all going to come out and just go, look, right? Yep, these things are real.
I think we're almost there. Like, I think obviously with David Rush coming forward, and I mean, look, that's all around the UAP phenomenon, and the military side of things. And like for me, like I kind of feel like it's the beginning of something. Like I know we sort of discussed this, in the other podcast, but
When's it all going to come out? Sorry.
was that you?
That was
Sorry.
me going on the page there because I
Yep.
was trying to look up something there for David Grush and Ross
Yeah.
Coulthard, and the bleeding
Yeah,
sound come
yeah,
through.
yeah, yeah. But look, I kind of feel like that was sort of the beginning of something, and I'm hoping that by them coming forward, look, I think there's still a whole legal thing going on with the whole whistleblower stuff through the courts and Congress and everything, being protected so that they can tell the whole truth. Whereas, like when they're going through, and if you go back through that congressional hearing, it was frustrating. And I know like Triffon and you and myself, we felt frustrated that I can't talk about that. Oh, sorry, I can't talk about that.
Yeah,
I can talk about it in a skiff and like that kind of stuff. And that was just like, come on, tell us the truth.
yeah,
But I think we'll get there. I just think it needs to be a process. And I said this before, it's just the wheels of government turn slowly. And for their protection of themselves and also national security and everything else, it has to go the right way. And I think that's across the board. That's all around the world. I think, the governments that are open to this discussion and saying, what, yeah, there's stuff going on. I think we'll get there. I just think it's going to be, I mean, look, it's taken us 20 years to get to here, from say when the topic really started getting some traction. And there's been a lot of people, the Jeremy Corbells and the George Knapp and, all these reporters and people that are sort of starting to make it normal. And the discussions are open now. I think we'll definitely get there at some point. It may not happen in the next 5 years or 10 years, but I think we'll get there. It's just going to take time because you've got to understand, like, we're talking, what were they saying about when their first reports go back to like the 1930s and before? So we're talking almost 100 years worth of information that they've got to sift through,
yeah.
and what's okay to tell, what's not okay to tell. Um, how are we going to do this in a way that's not going to scare the shit out of everybody and cause a civil war or whatever?
Mass
We don't
panic.
want to, yeah, we don't want to cause the world to fall apart because, oh, by the way, aliens exist. I think everybody really deep down, they know it. And look, it doesn't necessarily have to be extraterrestrials. We've had this discussion as well about, these things being interdimensional or ultra terrestrial or interterrestrial or whatever the other terms were. I can't remember them off the top of my head.
There's a few of them now.
There are a few, yeah. But look, the possibilities are endless. Like it could be any of the above. It could be all of the above. We just don't know. But based on the information that we're being told, through different streaming platforms and different people. I think the topic has now become so prominent that they can't ignore it anymore. And I think this is where the governments are still trying to ignore it a little bit and say, yeah, maybe not. But, like there was something recent that just came out. It was all around the, the release of the Tic Tac and the gimbal information. But there was something that happened recently, and it's the one thing that I cannot now remember what it was, but it was the one thing that happened in the last 3 weeks that I went, oh, that's something. But it was government related. So, and sorry, American government related. So I think that's another thing, yeah. And look, all these documentaries and things that are coming out as well are really sort of, I think changing the dynamic, and we'll start to see more and more of that. But as we said, it's quiet. Like it's just nothing happening.
Yeah, it's gone really quiet. Like the only other day, Ross Coulter's come up with on News Nation there with the Kona Blue, which I had to go and check up there what the name body was because they've got so many different names for shit now. And basically, it was something that Aero looked into regarding this Kona Blue, and they're saying there's nothing to find there. And it's like, well, Ross has gone doing his investigations and whatnot, and he's getting sources there telling him like, no, there's stuff there. So it's like it also comes back to like, well, how much bullshit is Aero feeding us there who are supposed to be going investigating into this? If they're not finding anything, but yet people are saying there's something there, what the hell's going on? Like, is this like just another cover up bullshit? They're like, they make this department just to go and satisfy the UFO community. They're going, hey, look, we are looking into this, but still we can't seem to find anything. But they also seem to keep looking at stuff there that is identifiable. Even if it is like, all these released video footage there of like, that jellyfish one there, and you had a couple of planes or something going past there with their cameras and whatnot. Like, surely those cameras would have picked up something phenomenal that's anomalous. They can't even explain. They're using the same systems there. So what part of that would be national security then if they're seeing something that's doing that? They're going, hey, what is that? We can't identify what that is. Like, where's the information on those videos? Or where are those videos there? Why are they not getting investigated into or released to the public there for people to go and, decide upon? That's the part that frustrates me when they're trying to say, look, we're looking into it, but we still can't find anything.
Yeah,
convincing.
and I think that's something that again, like David Grush alluded to, is that everything is so compartmentalized, that one department may not be talking to the other yet, Bob Lazar alluded to this, when he told his story about Area 51 and where he worked, or S4, I should say. And, he wasn't allowed to talk to this guy. So he was like, oh, I'm going to work on the propulsion system, but I need to talk to this guy about the aerodynamics of the machine and how it works so that I can understand how the propulsion, but they weren't allowed to talk. And I think that's what we have in the government, is that you've got this department and this department, and we're both investigating the same thing. We have the answers, but we're not allowed to talk about it. Yeah. So, and that's just, it's that whole thing of, because it's top secret, or because it's, classified, until it's declassified, no one can talk about it. So it just, it stays classified, and, it makes, the government's job easy. Because, I mean, you've got to understand as well, is that if this does come out, imagine the questions that the government's going to have to answer. Imagine the amount of work that they're going to have to do to answer everyone's questions. And there's going to be millions and millions of people saying, what the hell, you've been lying to us. It's also going to reduce the trust and that people have for the governments. There's a whole system that's going to change because of the whole disclosure thing. And I think they're doing it in dribs and drabs so that they can plan ahead so much, and then they go, okay, we're going to release this much. Okay, we've done that. We deal with the small amount of fallout that we have, and then we'll release a bit more, rather than just going, there it is, here's everything, it's all on the table. They have to be smart about how they do it. Because there's so much stuff out there that I think it's bigger than anyone actually thinks, or actually understands. I think. I mean, I know a lot of people understand it, and I'm not discrediting anyone, but I think it's so big that, and look, there's so much other stuff that comes into it: religion, belief systems, all of these different things that will change because of this, And I think, and I've discussed this with Triffon previously, about the influence that the church has on a lot of this information and what their input is into it. And look, I personally believe that that the church has or knows quite a lot, and they're not talking about it. And I'm not, again, I'm not directing this at any one particular religion or anything like that. Full respect to everybody. Everyone's allowed to have their beliefs. But I do think that there is some sort of not cover up, but I think there's some sort of repressed information that's not being shared for that particular reason. Sorry, suppressed information, not repressed. Yeah, sorry, I'm just reading the comments here on the group chat as well.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. No, Aaron, good points there you've got as well.
Throw that there because got Triffon there. He's on the other chat there. I'd go and tweak it a little bit there to get on the other UFO sightings page there, and Triff's tuning in via that one there. So I had to go and
cool.
Copy his little chat over there.
Yeah.
So there you go. Kona Blue's looking. So Kona Blue's looking into the injuries and deaths caused by encounters.
Yes.
So as people know that military personnel are getting close to these things, are getting issues like cancers and tumors and whatnots, and really bad health issues. So obviously Aero is looking into that, and nothing to see here.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
but so my biggest argument on we're talking about mass panics and governments and that trying to hide things and whatnot. They're just digging a bigger hole for themselves. Like if they came out clean the first time, there wouldn't be this big of an issue. There wouldn't be so many conspiracies. Like they'd have probably better control now because they would have, it's probably say when Roswell bloody happened. If they sort of look, we are finding these strange beings, we don't know where they're from, investigated into it further and whatnot. Just at least acknowledge that there was something there instead of trying to say it's a bloody weather balloon that's bloody crashed or some shit. We'd have a different bloody outcome today. We could be well and truly advanced much further than what we are today. There, we could be having intergalactic travel and stuff, whatnot. Well and truly far ahead. Being like the Jetsons or Back to the Future, sort of flying cars everywhere. How the movies and cartoons are supposed to predict us where we are today. But here we are still driving around in cars on the ground and whatnot.
Yeah, I know. And look, that opens up a whole different can of worms that I don't want to, well, I could go into, but I won't. But just to brush over it, that whole conspiracy thing that, and even like with Area 51 and sorry, not Area 51, with Roswell, I know that if you recall the news article that came out the day that it happened or the day after, and they said, yes, we found a flying saucer, and then they retracted that and said, no, it was a weather. So that in itself, either that they dropped the ball there and fumbled it and said, oh yes, we stuffed up there. No, sorry, we made a mistake. Of course, it's going to raise questions, and this is where it all really started. Did they really find a UFO and they don't want us to know, or they made a mistake and said, no, we actually found a weather balloon. We mistook it for a UFO, and in the process of that, we've stuffed up the whole scenario, and we've created this conspiracy just by the fact that we made a mistake, and look, that could be the truth. They may have found something that was completely harmless, but they may have found a UFO, and that's where I think they need to answer that question. Anyway, look, we could really, really talk for hours and hours on this topic. It's something that, I know that I could spend a lot of time talking, but, I guess trying to bring it back a little bit, but yeah, and just looking at the comments here, Aaron, I'm just responding to yours, like saying, the catacombs, the pyramids, Skinwalker Ranch, everything yes, and this is the topic of the name of the podcast that I did with Triffon, was everything is connected. Everything, every topic, every subject, it's all connected along the line somewhere. and it goes back thousands of years. Like I was listening to, I can't remember which podcast it was recently. I think it might have been Joe Rogan or something else, but they were talking about how far this goes back, and there are sightings and paintings and drawings of things thousands of years ago. There's text. There's the I can't remember the name of the. I don't want to butcher it. The Mahabharata. The Indian texts that talk about the Vimanas and the wars that happened in the sky and everything like that. And there's the topic of the Anunnaki and Nibiru, and like even with when I was talking to Triffon, like we went all the way back to the dinosaurs. Like it, and the fact that there are some cultures that have talked about dinosaurs being present in the last 10,000 to 20,000 years. So again, that's all connected, but I'm not trying to get off topic here, but it's all comes into it. So
Absolutely. Like it sort of like still leads down to the lines of why is everything being so repressed, or suppressed, sorry, from religions or whoever it is that seems to be in the control of this world. Why do they want to hide all this from us? What's the purpose behind everything? Why do we have to go and just try and figure out everything else out in dribs and drabs, like through conspiracies and everything like that? That's the part that frustrates me. Like if they just, like I said before, like if they just came out clean to begin with, we'd probably be well and truly adapted to all this, and it'd just be nature, just be life as it is. But unfortunately, no. Like it is frustrating.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. And I think that there's obviously the reasons for it, and I don't hold it against anyone. I think it's just one of those things that they made some decisions in the past, and I think they look at it from what's best for the people, what's best for the world. Do we talk about this or do we not talk about it? Do we keep it under wraps so that things don't fall apart, or do we make a call and talk about it, and everything could change? But like you said, look, like we could have advanced technology. We could be driving around in spaceships or flying around in spaceships. We could be have completely renewable energy. Like you talk about Nikola Tesla and all of his work and everything, and what happened to all of that? It's all gone. And all of a sudden we have coal-powered fire stations. When we could have had free energy. Caused by the energy of the earth and the wind and electrostatic stuff in the atmosphere and all these other things that could have happened. Instead, we went the other way, so now we rely on fossil fuels, and now we rely on, I know we're working towards clean energy and other things like that, but at what cost? Like even the electric vehicles, like there's talk, well, it's obvious, everyone's talking about it, but the amount of mining that has to be done in order to make a battery, for a car, or multiple batteries for cars, I think was to create one 12-kilo section of a battery, you have to mine 12 tons of lithium, or 12 tons of rock to get the lithium out to make a battery. I don't know whether that's fact or not, but that's the information that I see, and that's all coming through social media as well. So again, could be complete bullshit. I don't know, but I think that's something that we need to factor in, is that like what they're not telling us about how they create technology is that there's always cause and effect, and the just to get to one point, there might be a completely different thing than what we're being told. So look, I get it. Look, the human race is flawed. I completely understand it, and I think in a way we're all working towards a better future and a good future. I hope. I hope we're not going to be the next great extinction. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, like going back on like the electric cars and stuff like that, like there is a lot of things behind it. There's a lot of mining. I disagree. We're not ready for that kind of technology yet because
Mm,
we're still very reliant on the fossils side of things. So basically, going like your electric cars, yeah, they're good and all that sort of stuff, but then they're going to produce them. Then to keep them power, we're still using fossil fuels to power it. So it's like this doesn't make sense to go and be using electric cars just yet. Like obviously, it puts the emissions down from car usage and stuff like that. But anyway, it's we're not ready for that kind of technology yet. That's well,
no,
we
we'll
could have
get
been.
there. We'll get there.
But
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
But
Yeah.
yeah, like then it comes down again to like the Anunnaki. They're coming into well, if it's the Anunnaki, whoever the hell's controlling this world, and you like you said, they threw us backwards when we could have been very well forward ahead.
Mm,
Like who the hell made that decision there for us to go in that direction?
mm. That's
To
right.
me, it's like speaking for everyone. That's not fair. Like back in the olden days, yeah, we had our kings and queens, that try to do the right things and whatnot for themselves, whichever way you want to look at them. But to go down that sort of pathway, like sending us backwards, why wouldn't they want to try and benefit the people of their countries and whatnot? Like that's the part that sort of frustrates me. That makes me raise the biggest question of them all. Like, why would they want to benefit humanity in that regard?
That is the multi-billion-dollar question. I think that answer says it all. I think, look, and not, I don't want to sound like that, person, but the amount of wealth and the amount of money that a lot of these people have may be the answer to your question. Why would they? I mean, look at what's happening in Australia right now. We're in a financial crisis. Everyone's struggling,
Hmm.
but the big corporations and big companies are still making billions of profit,
Yeah.
and it's not coming down to us. They say that, well, I was talking to someone the other day, and we have these discussions randomly about, how we could fix the tax system so that everyone pays the same amount of tax, and everyone's whinging, the corporations and everyone else should pay more tax or pay tax in general. If they did, if everyone paid, and I think the person I was talking to suggested that this was actually put forward to Australia, probably 30, 40 years ago, where they said if everyone was to pay 15% tax from you and me up to the multi-millionaire, billionaire people, we wouldn't have a problem. The tax system would
Hmm.
be fine. It's a fair system, and we would be okay. But they chose not to. They chose to do it a different way. And now, like I'm someone who works two jobs, and just working two jobs puts me at risk of having to either earn less overall income and I pay more tax,
Hmm.
or I get a tax bill. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, which is not fair.
where
It's like you're
no,
working your
exactly
ass
right.
off,
No,
and
yeah,
yeah,
exactly right. And look, it's a completely different topic. We've gone from aliens to tax.
we have.
Let's bring it back.
We're going to
But
politics.
you know what I
You
mean?
read my
Like,
mind. Yeah.
yeah. So anyway,
But
let's bring it
it's
back
just to
to
go with the control system. Like, it just seems to be rewarding us. Either way, we're trying to look at things there. General life to history, everything just seems to be an absolute rort down the whole line. Wherever it's gone from, you know, to
Yep.
what the biggest question was before. So let's roll it back in there. So you had your encounters there. So what's
Yep.
your thoughts on like your own personal encounters there? Like, what's obviously you've had time to think about what they're possibly doing with you. What's their interest in you? What's your thoughts on that?
Um, well, I guess the biggest question is why? Why me? Was I just someone on a list who they thought, let's go and talk to Alex and see what he's going to do and investigate him. Look, I think, if you talk about the topic of, you know, like an alien race is dying out because they can no longer reproduce, and they're using our our DNA, our reproductive capabilities to create a hybrid race, so that they can live on or in some form. The fact that the human race can breed very, very well, I think is probably a major factor in that. If that's what they're talking about, if they're talking about, creating a new hybrid race, which, it's look, that topic has been discussed on so many different occasions. It's been in movies, it's been in documentaries, it's been in, TV series, all that kind of stuff. So I think that's probably my main thought, is that they were coming to collect something from me, for those reproduction purposes. And I've heard, there's a lot of people, in particular women, who have claimed to have been impregnated, and carried a hybrid baby to a certain point, not so much full term, but and then they've lost the baby, or it's been taken away. And again, there's been many stories and reports about that happening to many people, and some people are very honored about that, I think. And I've heard that. I've seen documentaries where these people were very pleased that they were able to do that, and they were able to produce an offspring of some description, for that purpose, and they were happy about it. And others have been the opposite. But in terms, of my experience, that's the one thing I would say, is that, maybe I was just in my prime and they needed my sperm. So that was, something to do with it. But other than that, whether it's for DNA, whether it's just for research, whether they just wanted to know, how Alex Gray ticks, maybe that could be it. I don't know. And that's one of the questions that have always sat there, is that, why me? And I think a lot of people have that as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories there, like you're saying, like people getting, abducted for reasons, reproductive reasons, or even more, just something with splicing with the DNA or something like that. So that then leads me to the question: if it's not too personal, like have you got any like family history of anyone having these encounters or some sort of experiences?
Not that I'm aware of. Again, this is, not something that I've really discussed with any of my family. I have mentioned it to my wife, in just in conversation, as, oh, I had an experience once and things like that. She just brushed it off and said, oh, whatever. It doesn't, but my other, I guess the only one person that I would have potentially asked was my grandmother. And she passed away about 20 years ago, maybe less, maybe 15 years ago. Anyway, but she always had a very open mind. And she was quite religious in a way. She went to church every Sunday, and she did, all of the community stuff, and she was involved in different organizations and raising money and things like that. It was always based around, the church and that kind of thing. But she would still talk about paranormal stuff, about ghosts and fairies and goblins and garden gnomes and things like this, that whether or not that was just something to entertain me because I was quite young, I don't know. But I always felt like that was real, and I felt like she thought that was real. And if anything was going to happen, I think it would have happened to her. But yeah, no other experiences with my parents, my siblings, or anything else like that, not that I'm aware of. So this was, like I said, it was a one-off experience for me. And, I've always felt like it was random. I never thought it was actually just, we've been visiting you for so long. But at the same time, going back to when I was much younger, I think about, like I said earlier, was, my friends used to come and visit, and they'd take me flying. So that may have
Yeah, that's
been
what I was going
that
to sort of
exactly,
relate
you know
to.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And that may or may not have kept happening. But if you look at other stories from people, and it's not the same for everybody, I get that, is that a lot of people will have these repressed memories that will come through, and they will ask questions, and it will just get worse and worse and worse. Whereas if for me, like, I have no idea whether this has happened numerous times, multiple times. All I do remember is it happened once when I was 25 and when I was young. That's the only thing there. Look, there were a couple of other I wouldn't say UFO or alien related experiences that were more paranormal. And that's where, I was having a vivid dream one night, and um, I was woken up by a voice that said, "Get out of my house." And I put that down to, it was either a really pissed off spirit, or something along those lines, because it's happened more than once. And I've woken up one night and I had a very, very dark entity standing next to my bed, and I saw it. It was there. It was just the outline and black. But that see, that wasn't an experience I would put down to the same thing that happened when I was 25. The alien related experience. They're more like, I would say, spirit related or something along those lines. And the house that I was living at the time, when I saw this dark entity, I believe was built on either an Aboriginal burial ground or some sort of sacred site, and that the spirit that was there was sort of there to tell me, you're not welcome. So I moved out of that house very quickly. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't stick around too long. And like, I've had other experiences, throughout high school. Like, we go, and this is getting into the paranormal side of things. Going to, there's a place at Manly, the old quarantine station, where everybody used to come through, coming to Sydney. And they would go through quarantine, and it was a rough place. Like, it was, yeah, the stories that you hear in there are just, you would go through, you'd have to be scrubbed and sprayed with, this liquid that would just kill everything, and if you inhaled it or if you swallowed it, you would die as well. And they've got tours there that they talk about ghosts, and they go on different things, and they scare the shit out of you when they're talking about these things, and do all these really crazy things. And a lot of they've got photographs of supposed ghosts. And look, I think there's a lot of, it's just more of a money making thing for them, and it's a bit of a hype thing. But the experiences that I had there, when I was, so, I sort of separated myself a little bit from the group and tried to sort of hang to the back a bit. And I was sort of put myself in situations where I was testing to see if anything would actually happen. And probably 8 out of 10 times it did. So one time I was there, because I went there about 4 or 5 times. And one particular time I was sitting on the bed, and I had one of my mates sitting next to me, and we were both sitting there, and we felt something like almost sit down next to us, and like the hair on our necks stood up, and we both at the same time went, "Did you feel that?" And we both got up and just bailed. Like, that kind of thing has happened quite a bit. Actually, it kind of happened last night. I was lying in bed, and I was sort of thinking about a few things, and I sort of felt a presence. I'm like, what's going on here? There's something in my room. And I just like, it doesn't really scare me anymore. Like, it used to scare me quite a bit. And I was just like, oh, come on, what now? Like, this is, what do you want? And, after a while it just went away. But yeah, it's, it happens a bit. So, and it has happened a bit. So anyway.
Yeah, you always get people come across, like, when they have like an encounter with something that's of a UAP, UFO sort of nature, or even encounters from beings or such. They seem to have like a I don't know, open a gateway to a paranormal aspect as well. I'm
Mhm.
not going to say everyone has that sort of ability, but it seems to be the people who have the more reoccurring sort of encounters seem to be having paranormal ones as well. And when we go down this whole, wormhole, there seems to be a bit of an interaction there between paranormal and UFO
Mhm.
cryptids as well. There's some sort of nature there where they're like, we're trying to work out what these beings are, whether they're interdimensional or something like can they get across into what we would refer to as the paranormal side of the world, in the other side of dimensions? People seeing beings and ghosts, and like you're saying, like you're feeling things move around you or something like that in that nature. It's like, what the hell's going on? Like, why can we, feel or sense these presences nearby, but can't see them for whatever reasons? But no, whatever. What's the whole key behind this whole aspect of paranormal and UFO nature?
Yeah, this brings us back to, everything is connected in some way or another.
Mm,
I think it's everything. I think it's all of the above. We talk about interdimensional and certain beings being on different planes of existence. And I know that the shamans and things that they astral travel and they see things in different dimensions and different planes, and it's quite a broad spectrum. And I don't think there's any one particular thing that's one or the other. I think it's all there. Like the spirit world, I think, after like my personal view is that after we die and we are physical bodies, now we move on to the next stage. And I guess if you believe in reincarnation and things like that, is that and this is just the way I think about things, is that I guess this goes to the fact that people have had multiple different lives and they've lived different times and things like that. I think
yeah.
we may, in some way, have a choice as to what we do. Like, I think that the existence that we're in right now is something that we were offered and said, okay, we'll give it a shot, and so we go through the process and we become, we move into a body, we are born and we go through the life and then we die, and then we can choose, where do we go from here? And look, it could be that we go to heaven, it could be that we go to hell if we do the wrong thing, whatever. That could be a real thing. But we could also be absorbed back into the universe, into the ether, and become part of the universe again. Or we could go to a place where, okay, we get to choose, what do we want to do next? Do we want to be a bird? Do we want to be a cow? Do we want to be an alien, or do we want to be do we want to live in a different part of the universe, or do we want to live in a different universe? You know what I mean? Like the mind boggles at what it could be. But I just think that one of those things is we sort of get some sort of a choice, and it's all about experience, and it's all about keeping the life force, or whatever it is, going. We talk about like angels, and I think that there's probably an element of that element of that in there as well. Look, again, I could talk about this for hours, but I don't know. Like, look, we don't have the answers. If we had the answers, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
Yeah, no, that's
what I
right.
mean? Yeah.
Which is the sad truth to that. Like,
Yeah,
this show wouldn't exist
exactly.
otherwise.
Exactly. But look, I think, look, if we did have the answers, if we knew everything, life would be boring. If we didn't have questions, what's the point? We know the answers, whatever. I think this is, and this goes for everything. If we knew everything, if we knew the answers, then it would just be, okay, all right, we're bored. What do we do next? And I think, we just have to, try and figure it out for ourselves as we go. And when, if we do figure it out before before we die, then great. And look, that's another thing that we could look into, is that, maybe, we are spending our time learning as much as we possibly can and experience as much as we possibly can. And that when we die, we get the answer. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
who knows?
that's it. Like, that's growing up as kids and that, like, we're all got the learning process and trying to figure out life, what's the meaning of it all, and all sorts of stuff and that too. But like, I sort of find, like, as we sort of grow up, though, we become very ignorant in our own sort of lives, and like, we don't, like, we want the answers, but sometimes, like, we don't want that sort of truth either, if it is the truth in that sort of nature, like all those answers, because it goes against the agendas and stuff like that. Like, then becomes a lot of conflict and such. Because, like, like, the thing that I sort of find a lot is the UFO community conflicts a lot in what's going on, sort of thing. Um, I sort of feel like that, we're going a little bit crazy with the world, not just in the UFO community at the same time, but like just everything in general. I think, not to mention COVID because it's going to get bloody tagged on bloody YouTube. But after COVID, like the whole conspiracy's got even further. Then now everyone's on a conspiracy wagon, not believing anything that's getting fed to us now. Everyone's questioning everything, but they're also believing a lot of crap that's on the social medias these days. Like
Mm.
you know, chemtrails for ones from jets flying around over the top of you, like just a commercial airline with a contrail behind you. Everyone's thinking it's bloody, they're cloud seeding and chemtrail and all sort of shit. And it's like, calm down.
Mm.
They're not, not, not chemtrails. It's
Yeah.
like I'm not denying that they do it, but not
Yeah.
every single airline you see going across is a bloody chemtrail. And
No.
I see it a lot through Facebook there, people trying to believe that crap. And then a lot of other stuff, it's getting frustrating and people just they're too quick to sort of deny what something is and trying to say it's something that's most likely not to go and sort of put a spin if I'm making sense. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, but there's obviously two sides to everything as well. But and
Mm,
I try to sort of sit on the fence with a lot of it. Look, I know for a fact that, well, not for a fact, but I know that cloud seeding is a thing. They
mm,
do it. They've done it up here in the mountains in the ski season for years. Because they want to get the best snow. So
yeah,
and sometimes they get it right and sometimes they don't, and we end up with a dump of snow in the wrong place, where instead of being on the mountains, it's in the town, and we end
yeah,
up in chaos because no one knows how to drive in the snow. But look, I totally understand that. Look, some people will say, yeah, oh, they're dumping chemicals on us and stuff. In a way they are, but um they're also doing it in a way that they're trying to create more rain. They're trying to keep things growing and stuff like that. And I think,
mm,
I don't know about you, but in the last little while, I really think nature's fighting back at the moment because it is so wet, it is so green. It might be dry in some other part of the world, but we're out of El Nino and we're into La Nina, but then it goes back and forth, and it's just a constant shift of
yeah,
climates. But um, that's a whole different story. But I think, yeah, you're right. Like there is a lot of fake news out there. And again, watching a documentary the other day all about Anonymous, and I think it was the Antisocial Network was the name of the documentary. And it was all about where all this started, and it was, all sort of triggered by a few key people, and then all of a sudden it became political, and then all of a sudden everyone's doing it, everyone's part of this, everyone's doing that, and they're just
mm,
talking their opinions and their views and their their beliefs, and they're just putting it out there. And if you try to say no, this isn't true, they'll cancel you, and that's the
yeah,
world we live in now. And look, I know that there are probably people out there right now listening to this going, oh, these guys are talking shit. We are, we
mm,
don't know whether any of this is true or not. But it's the world we live in, and we just need to do the best we can and try and look at things from the perspective of, we are all just trying to survive. We're trying to do the best we can. We're trying to make a living, and we just want to get through unscathed and look after the next generation, and do the right thing. So
pretty well.
yeah,
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 like with every conspiracy, like that 1% of it could be true. Obviously conspiracy will start from something, but then it's going to get warped by so much stuff there. Like people trying to go and spit off their own spiels and their own versions to it, and just like turns into big Chinese whispers. So
mm.
basically, all I'm trying to say is like just be more mindful of what you're seeing and don't just immediately believe it. It's like try and put some logic and bit of you know critical thinking behind something and go, well, look, it could be possible, but yeah,
Yeah.
some things don't weigh up here and some shit, it's like same with the UFO sort of stuff. Like you see a lot of crap on UFOs, like a lot of CGI crap there, or someone's like seeing something flying in the distance there that could well and truly be identifiable, and a lot of crap on there just trying to claim UFOs and trying. I don't know. It's to me, it discredits a lot of the community, the
Mm.
UFO community on that sort of stuff there. Do things properly, like like I've always said, like make sure you record it, times and dates, and much information and detail as possible. Don't just go and post a video, go, "Hey, I saw a UFO," and just try and claiming UFO straight away. Because as always, UFOs always get um, you know, always seen as like as an alien craft.
Mhm.
or something like, always has the agenda of little alien men flying around in spaceships.
Yeah.
So be careful of the topic or the term UFO and UAP and
Mhm.
such like, because like I was saying, it's got a lot of stigma attached to it still.
Yeah, that's right. And I look, you're right. I think the whole term UFO UAP has become all about, oh, it's an alien craft. It's not. It's an unidentified flying object or an unidentified aerial phenomenon. Now, UAP is obviously has come about more recently, and I think it's more with regard to the government side of things and the go fast and the gimbal and the tic tacs and those kind of things, because they are like, they've been documented, they've been filmed, and this has come from government. They don't know what they are, so they are unidentified. They are in the air, so they're aerial, and they're absolutely, like, the mind boggles at the speeds they travel at and how they can move in and out. They can go
Mm.
from 80,000 feet to 8 feet in a second. They can move into the ocean. They can move out of the ocean. They can move through the ocean at unbelievable speeds. And this was something that was recently commented on. I can't remember what it was, but they were saying that they have documents, or sorry, not document. They've got footage of these things traveling through the water at unbelievable speeds that we could not do, purely because of the what do they call it, the dynamics of how our submarines travel through the water and the
Mm.
everything that's including that. But these things can travel through at ridiculous speeds without problem. Going against so that makes it phenomenal. So they are therefore phenomenon. And even the term UFO, it's an unidentified flying object. So if you see something in the sky, it's an object and it's flying, and you can't figure out what it is. So it's unidentified. But this whole thing that it's become tagged to aliens, it's just like, we don't know. Like, we can speculate and we can think and say, yeah, for sure, we believe it is. Like, I believe that, there's definitely something, but if you look at the evidence and the reports and everything else that we're waiting for the governments to release, it could be something else. And that's where I think we need to keep an open mind about it, not just jump to a conclusion and say, yeah, it was an alien. Because look,
Yeah.
the things that I've seen, like, I'll tell you about one experience that I had, and it was absolutely, like, when I saw it, I went, holy crap, how does that happen? Now, this is where, imagine a compass, and you've got north, south, east, and west, and then you've got all the other, so northwest, northeast, southwest, southeast. I saw at one time 8 to 10 different lights coming from all of those directions, moving towards each other, converge, and then move out from each other. All right. And this is one of my last experiences that I had. And this is probably going back about 2 years now. And that happened just one night. I was walking up the hill. I went for a walk one night. And this is when the whole CE5 stuff started to become popular and really get out there, when Stephen Greer was releasing it. And I downloaded the app, and, I was going through a whole phase with that. But it was around that time that I was just like, I was looking in the sky and looking around, like, all of these things are just appearing, and they all did this thing, and then they just disappeared. Now, that could have been and probably was, because I'm not going to say that they were UFOs. I mean, I believe that, well, they obviously were, but because I can't identify them. But look, that could have just been a random thing where 8 to 10 satellites all just moved in the same direction for one time and then disappeared. Like they fade in, fade out. And it's, I've never seen anything like it before, and never seen anything like it again. But that was just one thing. Now, again, do I believe it was something out of this world? I don't know. I don't. I think I can't say what it was, and I can't prove what it was. And all I've got is that it could have been this or it could have been this, and that's it. That's as far as I can go. Like, I can't go any further than that. I've got no proof of it. It's my word against everyone else, and that's that. I saw it. I believe it happened. You know, I saw it with my own eyes, and you know, I'm not someone who's, you know, I don't have any mental health issues or anything like that. It's pure, like, this is just, you know, what I saw. But that's all I can do is I can say, yes, it happened, you know, and like everything else that I've said tonight, you know, it's speculation until proven, but I can't prove it. And I think there's probably a lot of people out there who are in the same boat. You know, we saw this, we believe it happened, but no, we can't prove it. And I think
that's the hardest part when it comes to investigating UFOs in general. There is very rarely any evidence there to go and sort of try and back up your claims. And like, I'll give people benefit of the doubt, no worries. But if they've got something there that, you know, they've provided me where I can sort of like go through the protocols to sort of like try and justify if it could be something that's identifiable, like could it have been Venus, the space station, could it have been Starlink going past, could have been like an airplane of some sorts, you know, something in that nature there, or could have just been like a star that's like on the horizon or something. You know, there's so many different things that you sort of, you know, it catches you off guard, and you go, "Oh, what the hell is that? Could that have been a UFO or something like that?" But it's like, you know, doing something strange or that something I don't understand, but it could have an answer from someone else's point of view. And like, I'm willing to help anyone who has seen something strange and they can't really identify, and I'll go through the whole thing with you. You know, give us a time and a date and location, and try and figure out where exactly or what it was that might possibly be able to rule out if it's something explainable. If it's something that's not explainable, and or you saw it do something absolutely phenomenal, like to like go across the sky, and then zip over the other half of the sky, and then back to the other half of the sky, and you know, then keep going or something, like, you know, doing something that's, you know, defies all our known capabilities, then yeah, by all means, you've got something that you can't explain. But unless otherwise, yeah, there's a lot of things out there that get so easily misidentified that is explainable.
Exactly right. Yeah.
So yeah, just be mindful of what you're seeing, or try and learn what's out in the sky, or what even our technology is capable of doing these days. Because like, yeah, like I said, like a lot of people get mistaken over things there. And look, like I said, I'm happy to go and help you out if anyone has any questions or something that they want to sort of investigate into. And I'm sure you're a bit the same, Alex. You know, you investigating this sort of thing or researching it, you sort of got a good idea of what to look for and what is out there, sort of thing. Anyone who does investigate it should, or hopefully, be knowledgeable in that sort of aspect.
Exactly right. And I think, you know, when it comes to this kind of, you know, topic and research and everything, like, it's all well and good to say I saw a UFO, but unless you like like just an example, you know, the picture that's behind you on your screensaver there, you know, like if you were to see something like that, then it's a flying saucer. You know, whether or not it's an alien craft or whether it's man-made or whatever, we don't know. But if you have proof, then, you know, you're more likely to be believed. But even for me, like, if I've never seen anything like that, I've only seen things from a distance that have been lights, you know, or as I said, like, I've had my encounter, but that was, you know, fairly close up, and I still don't know whether that's real or not, you know. But that's, for me, that's helped me to, you know, create what I believe and where I'm going in life and all that kind of thing. And I'm curious, but I think, you know, we really get a lot of people who are so, you know, hyper focused on these things, and it drives them, you know, crazy and mad sometimes. And I think we just need to take a step back and say, look, we need to look at this from a realistic perspective. And look, full respect to everybody, and everyone's on their own journey. Like, I'm not judging anyone by what they do. But just be careful, you know, like, don't put yourself in a position where it's going to affect you negatively. I think you've got to look at things objectively. You've got to look at things realistically and say, did I see something? Or, you know, maybe, like you said, like, I don't think jumping to a conclusion and saying, I saw a UFO is the right thing to do. I think you need to say, like, as I said, I've seen situations where there's lights crossing the sky, and there might be 2 and 3 and 4 at a time. Now, I might say, Yeah, it could be a UFO, but I could also say that it could be some random chance where 4 satellites are all traveling at the same speed and the same time, and they're all moving across the sky.
Yeah.
You've always got to have that objective view, and until you can prove it, it is what it is, you know. But again, like it's different for everybody, and I think unless we report these things and unless we talk about these things, we're never really going to know, you know. And I think that's where we're sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place, is that we have millions of people around the world seeing these things all the time, and they're reporting them. Some have proof, some don't. You know, there's a lot of really, really detailed stories that, you know, like all the ones that happened back in the 60s and the 70s. You know, Barney and Betty Hill, and I really hope I got that name right. You know, what's his name? I can't remember his name. What's the guy that was abducted and returned 5 days later?
Now you got me now.
Yeah. But yeah, no, things like that. And you know, any of those stories and experiences, you know, like and you go into like Project Blue Book and all these other things where, you know, they investigated thousands of reports. Most of them were found to be, you know, swamp gas or whatever, but other words, there's still a whole bunch of those that are Travis, thank you, Jane. Thank you very much. Travis Walton. Yeah, there's a lot of those that have sort of been debunked, but there's still a lot of those that are unanswered. And I think that's why, you know, we do what we do. And I think, you know, yourself, me, and everyone else around the world who's interested in this topic, it gives us a sense of purpose, I think, and it gives us a sense of you know, like I like to, you know, not, if, like I said before, like if we knew everything, if we had all the answers, I think life would be very, very boring. If things were easy, life would be boring. So I think these things are put in front of us to challenge us and to ask questions and sort of open our minds up to other possibilities. Because I think, you know, if we were to just follow the instructions and say, do as you're told, you know, follow the rules, this is history, this is how it is, I think life would be very, very different. You know, that in my view is, you know, do as I say, not as I do. That really starts to push the buttons, I think, for, you know, and raise a lot of questions. But I also feel that there are, you know, certain ways that we need to do this, and we need to remain neutral and realistic about a lot of these things, because again, you know, some of that could be completely, you know, it could just be chance and we misidentify things. Some of it could be real, and I think that's the interesting part about it, is that it could be one or the other. We don't know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, so the best way to sort of, I feel like, come across that way is, instead of looking like the crazy UFO guy or whatever, do like what I was saying. Like, if you can sort of record it and report it in like a reporting kind of sense, like, you know, hey, look, I've seen it, go, did this sort of strange thing and went this way there, and, you know, explain your story properly, then it becomes a lot more believable, because like you're going through your own story, your emotions, you're reliving your own encounter basically, and explaining to everyone else. And that's why I love talking to people on the podcast who have had encounters, because they're reliving it, and those are the people I sort of can't really discredit on their encounters or experiences, because, you know, I'm talking directly to them, and like there's, like, you can hear it in their voice as well. It's like there's no bullshit coming from them. It's all genuine sort of emotion coming through as they're talking about it, whether it's being fearful or you know, some um, sort of happy encounter, or I don't know, exciting encounter or something, you know, something along that sort of nature. And it's like I said, like, I'm not here to try and discredit everyone's encounters and whatnot. It's just like, but just like, do your own self a favor, and, you know, come across as genuine instead of that crazy UFO guy, like that we've seem to be so well known for around the world, there being those crazy UFO people. But anyway.
And look, I think with that as well is that, you know, now that people like Ross Coulthard and, you know, other people who are quite prominent and in the media, it's really changing the dynamic. And don't get me wrong, there is always going to be that element of, you know, of people that, you know, I hate using the word crazy, but there's always going to be that element of people who take it a little bit differently to others. But, you know, like I said, if we remain neutral, level-headed, calm about it. And look, don't get me wrong. If I see something in the sky, I get excited. Like I was like, oh, sweet. And I'm always very grateful for those things as well, because it's another experience that I get. And whether if it's something that I can't explain, like if I can look at the sky and go, oh yeah, it's a satellite, I get that. Like that's not exciting. And the beauty about modern technology is we have all these apps now that we can use to track things. I've got an app on my phone where I can open it up, point it at something, and I can say, all right, that's Jupiter, that's Saturn, that's a satellite, that's actually a rocket body that's moving across the sky. And there's some of them are accurate, but some of them aren't. But when you point your camera and that app at something and there's nothing there, that opens up questions and say, okay, is that a spy satellite? Why is it not on the app? Why is it, and that's quite possible. I mean, they've, obviously they've shot down spy balloons and stuff over the US recently. And, but there was, I think, was it 3 out of the 4 things that they shot down? They identified the spy balloon, but they didn't identify the other 3 things.
Yep.
So that begs questions, you know what I mean? But yeah, like I said, if you can work out, okay, I can't identify what that is. If it's acting in a way that is unusual, then that I would say, all right, well, I would think that's something that's not a satellite, because satellites are fairly stationary and they just move across the sky in the same speed. They don't change direction or anything like that. And I see the International Space Station all the time. Like it comes across and it's bright, it's there, like what it is, and you go, oh yeah, that's the space station. But some people might see it and go, oh, that was a UFO. Well, no, it wasn't. It was the space station. But as I said earlier, like and this was something that happened to me when I was driving home one night, I saw what I thought was a satellite, and it came across the sky and it stopped. It sat there for about 2 seconds and then went back the other way. That's not a satellite. That's not normal behavior of a satellite, unless for some reason they can say, oh, stop, we got to go back again, which may well be a thing. I don't know. I don't work for NASA, so I can't say, but or I don't work for anyone who's controlling the satellites either. But it definitely wasn't Starlink, because I've seen Starlink and it's, multiple dots in a row and they travel across the sky. And I just saw something yesterday where, someone posted a photo and a video of an object in the sky, and it wasn't a great video. It was obviously blurry and everything else. But it was just there in the sky, and someone piped up and said, oh, that's Starlink. And everyone's like, what are you talking about? That's not Starlink. It's a single object in the sky. It's silver. It's not a band of lights, and that's where I think a lot of people, the whole misinformation and not understanding what these things are, even like the black light satellite as an example, there's photographs of that. And I mean, I've never seen it and we don't know what it is. I mean, it's an anomaly, but that's another example of something that can be misidentified sometimes. I was driving. Yeah. Sorry, I'll just quickly say this. I was driving back into town one afternoon and I saw this black object in the sky moving across the sky in an erratic pattern. And I was like, oh, wow. And I got closer to it and realized it was a balloon, and it had blown away from someone's 40th. It was a 4 going across the sky, But
it's amazing how quickly we can be so quick to jump on something and go, oh, wow, it's amazing. It's got to be like a UFO or alien craft of some sort, and that nature. But till we actually sort of step back and like, oh shit, okay, that's not as good as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
But go on that Black Knight satellite, we have like only a couple of images of what it is, and the speculation on just that object alone. People claiming it's been orbiting the Earth for 10,000 years or somewhere, or longer, and for all we know, it could have just been a bit of space junk that's still floating around there from previous launches and stuff like. Who bloody knows? But it's that's the worst part about this whole topic. There's so much speculation and no truth and such. It's good but bad at the same time.
Yeah, I know, and that's what I think what we live with is it's just there's so much out there that just we don't know what it is, and yeah, you're right. Like the Black Knight, could be a piece of space junk. It could be a piece of, like I read something recently, saying that Earth actually has two moons. We have obviously our big moon, and don't
Yep.
get me started on that topic. But apparently there is another piece of space rock that orbits the Earth in a similar pattern, but it's very, very small. It's about the size of a basketball or something like that. But it's there. It hasn't moved. It's still orbiting, but that's just another thing. So yeah, the Black Knight thing could be it's a piece of space junk or it's a piece of rock that just so happens to look like something. But when you look at it and look at the photos, it's really odd shape.
Yeah,
like
it is.
yeah, and there's nothing, like, it doesn't do anything. It's just there and there. It's not like
Yeah.
it's just there. So and no one's been able to get close enough to it to actually work it out.
No, we
Maybe.
never will. And then let alone try and discover where it is again. To try and, sort of track it down, or unless they have and not telling us, that's one
Well,
of those
exactly
things
right.
again.
I'm sure that someone out there, whether it's NASA or something else, has an idea. They're probably tracking it in some direct, some form to make sure that it doesn't become a danger to people on Earth. I mean, imagine something of that size, because I don't know how big it is. Like I think it's fairly substantial.
Yeah.
It's probably like 10 or 15 meters in diameter, or 30 meters. I can't remember, but I don't think they actually know. I don't know. But imagine that crashes to Earth. Like
It's gonna do
there's
some
like
damage.
we had a only probably last year, I think it was, we had a satellite crash, probably about 10 k's from my house. It just
Oh,
happened to
wow.
randomly crash in a paddock, and I'm pretty sure it was one of Elon's ones.
Oops.
Yeah. So, because I remember seeing photos of it, and it was well and truly embedded in the ground. It made a mess, and it was just lucky that it fell in a paddock and not in a town. Because
Yeah.
yeah, imagine trying to explain that. Oh, sorry guys, I crashed a satellite into this town and I killed 20 people. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Or do they? Oh, it's alien. Oh, hey, no weather balloon. Sorry, guys. We've
yeah,
messed up now.
exactly right. No, but I'll tell you what, like, just I remember seeing the images of it and I was just thinking, wow, that was in space, like, and it was a mess. It really made a mess of the ground, made a decent hole. But
Bloody hell.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, mate, look, I
anyway,
think we'll leave it there for the night, mate. And look, we'll look at get you back on in the future there to kind of discuss this a bit further, mate. Because like, obviously,
yep.
UFO topic in itself is massive. There's a lot to go and cover here, and
Mm,
we'll get you in. Yeah, have a bit of a better idea what we're going to have a bit of a chin wagon and go and do some more
yep.
speculations and whatnots. And
Sounds good.
but
Sounds
yeah,
good.
mate, can't appreciate it enough, mate, for coming on, mate. It's been a pleasure having you on again. And yeah, by all means, mate, look forward to having you back on again.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate these chats, and yeah, we should do it more often.
Absolutely, mate. Look, are
Cool.
you open for people to get in touch with you if they want to have a chat with you at all, or are you
Yeah, if they
all
want.
set and good?
I've messed up my my social media page recently. I changed my password and I've had a struggle trying to access it again on Facebook. But look, if anyone wants to have a chat, just if you're open to people contacting you to contact me, then yeah, just flick me an email and
Yeah,
I'll
sounds good.
try and contact them or whatever. As we sort of alluded to, I have sort of looked at the topic of starting a podcast as well. I'm not quite there yet. I think it's something that it as you would know, it takes a lot of your time and a lot of effort to do, and unfortunately for me, I just don't have that capability at the moment. But I'm
Yep.
hoping to in the near future that we can, but again, like, I'm happy to do these kind of things. I just have a chat with you and whoever else, and I mean, look, I'm no expert in any of this stuff, and I don't claim to be, never will. But I'm not a huge researcher and anything like that. But this is an interesting topic for me. So if anyone wants to have a chat and ask, talk about experiences or anything like that, I'm open to that as well. So yeah, and thank you to everybody in the chat room, and appreciate the comments, and yeah.
No, that's awesome, mate. Look, again, thank you very much, mate. And yeah, I'll talk to you soon, mate. All right, all the
No
best,
worries.
eh? And
Thanks,
until
mate.
next time.
Take you too. See you, mate. Bye.
Catch you later. Oh, guys, thanks for joining me tonight. It was absolute ripper having you here again, joining me tonight in the comments. And a big thank you to Alex there for joining me tonight and having a bit of chin wag there. It was good rolling around and went a little bit off topic there, but it's sort of part of on the topic as well, which sort of rolls around with everyday lives of politics and bullshit that goes on in the world. And yeah, unfortunately, the UFO topic's going to get dragged into it a little bit. But anyway, we roll back into it. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the show tonight. It was good. Look forward to seeing you on the next one there. Don't forget, if you have had an encounter or some sort of experience there, come and chat to me. Love to have you on the podcast here and have a chinwag. Or if you know someone who has had an encounter of some sorts, by all means, send them my way. Love to have a chat with them. Um, Also, don't forget to go and support the podcast there with some merch there if you can get your hands on some. Um, you'll see the link there in the Facebook page there. I haven't put up in the links there. I can put some links up there if you're interested. I think we did rework the prices there a little bit there, so it should be a little bit more appealing. Hopefully, we'll see how we go with that. But yeah, check it out, guys. Find the Facebook page there. You can go and check it out. Also, don't forget to leave a like and share and whatnot. Helps the algorithms there. I don't like to go and ask to do that sort of stuff there, but if you can help out the podcast that way, that'd be great. Either way, it's just you guys tuning in and listening in the comments. There's as much help as I can ask for you. Or so the thanks as I can get from you. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna love yous and leave yous and leave yous tonight, and hopefully see you next week there for another Encounters Down on the Live. So all the best, guys, and until next time, catch you till then. Right, guys, all the best. Till then, yeah.